Hi, and welcome to The Gist. Recently, I've been reflecting on all the people who've crossed my path over the years. As a consultant, I've been privileged to work with people all over the world, at all levels, across many organizations. So, why did certain people make a lasting impression? Was it their outward successes or their inner character that left their mark on me? This is the question that journalist and author David Brooks tackles in his book, The Road to Character. The central theme is the distinction between what he calls resume virtues, our external achievements, versus eulogy virtues, our internal traits. Brooks proposes that in an increasingly status and brand focused culture, we're ignoring the most important part of our development, our character, that's shaped not by success alone, but by adversity and struggling with our own demons. Let's take a closer look at what he means. By exploring different people through history, he shows how they built character by facing and overcoming hardships. He features women like Frances Perkins, who played a central role in the formation of the American New Deal policies during the Depression era, and George Eliot, the pen name for the British author and poet Mary Evans. He also profiles men, like the Italian St. Augustine from the 1800s, and politicians like American George Marshall, father of the 1930s Marshall Plan that led to a Nobel Peace Prize. Brooks looks at how these figures from different countries and eras had a big impact on their times, not through chasing celebrity, but by adopting an attitude of service to their craft, to a cause, or to other people. They were far from perfect because some of the same traits that led to their successes were also the very traits that they struggled with the most. They were as complicated as the rest of us. All of them had rival tendencies inside themselves, their own angels and demons, virtues and flaws. Take, for example, President Dwight Eisenhower, whom Brooks contrasts with President John F. Kennedy. Unlike the charming and eloquent Kennedy, Eisenhower was less flashy, a careful man. He was a meticulous planner who nevertheless didn't fully rely on plans and adapted them as circumstances changed. He famously said, "Plans are nothing, but planning is everything." He promoted moderation, while Kennedy talked of limitless possibility. Eisenhower's times were also dictated by the notion that an authentic self was made, not born. Rather than the raw, natural sense of self we associate with that term today, Eisenhower and others in the book implicitly believed that each person cultivated that sense of true self through life's trials and tribulations. Brooks proposes that our modern moral ecology, as he calls it, frames life as a linear upward slope focused on brand building. He fears that while this meritocratic approach makes the most of our abilities, it traps us in approval seeking and remains devoid of the deeper meaning we all look for in life. Brooks believes this is borne out by modern parenting styles, with greater praise and support offered for our children's merit-based skills than in generations past. In his view, this sends a message of conditional love, leaving young people at risk of feeling crushed by worldly failure because their value is tied to achievement rather than character. In other words, by focusing too much on resume virtues, we risk robbing our children of the opportunity to build eulogy virtues. Brooks proposes instead that, far from being linear, the road to character is meandering, with no standard framework or 7-point plan that leads to guaranteed contentment. And while external pursuits that build our resume virtues are necessary, it's the time and attention we put into building our eulogy virtues that lead to deep, lasting satisfaction for ourselves and others. Brooks' thesis is aptly summarized by one of the figures he covers in the book, Michel de Montaigne, one of the most significant philosophers of the French Renaissance. He believed that internal self-respect was more important than external glory in a life well lived. In the words of Montaigne, by seeking external means to achieve internal tranquility, every man rushes into the future because no man has arrived at himself. As we all rush into our own futures, perhaps we can take stock on where we are on the road to character. And maybe also take a moment to think about who has touched our lives in a special or memorable way. Was it their resume virtues or their eulogy virtues that stayed with you and perhaps shaped your own character in ways big and small? On that note, wishing you a great week ahead, be well, and see you next time on The Gist.